Hey, it's Rebecca Rutherford. Welcome to the What in the Well podcast. My friend Angie Huber and I are here to provide an entertaining and relatable perspective on well-being. If you want to shift your mindset and make incremental progress toward your work and home life goals, you are in the right place.
Rebecca,
Yes.
good to see you today.
So good to see you. Always.
Oh, listeners too. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us today. Really excited about, I don't know if I'm actually excited about this topic. You?
Well, we're talking about burnout today, which is not necessarily an uplifting topic, but it's extraordinary.
Real.
Yeah,
It's extraordinarily real.
Extraordinarily. So, what better way to spend the next 20, 30 minutes than making something that is as painful as burnout uplifting somehow.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to do. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Where are you on your burnout scale right now? Scale 1 to 10. 1 being totally not burnt out, 10 being I'm so burnt out right now can't even function.
Okay. Everybody's gonna want to kill me. I'm maybe a 3. I am not burnt out right now. I know.
Good.
I actually feel pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I feel
is it the day or is it really just this theme right now? Like, are
no,
you
actually,
in a non-burnout kind of flow?
Yeah, no, today is actually really busy. So, busy and burnout, not necessarily the same thing, but a lot of times what causes me to get burnt out is when I'm too busy. But it's honestly, I think it's just like the variety of things I have going on in my life right now. And we're on the recovery upswing. My husband had surgery in March, about a month ago, maybe a little more. And it was, I was burnt out then. It was right before my kids' spring break. I was serving him, I was serving them. It was 24/7 and I was burnt out from that. Yeah. But he's becoming more self-sufficient. My kids are back in school. My work is at a really good rhythm. I don't know. The other thing too is that it's spring and it's looking springy out there and I love it.
Yes,
my mood goes way up. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, see, and you're also getting to some things that we'll dive into is like what gets you out of burnout when you are in a space of burnout.
Exactly.
I am probably at a 7 or an 8. So I'm on the other part of the Richter scale.
Yeah.
Today I am better, but I'm in a flow of burnouts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you took on some more work recently, right?
Yeah, and it has swallowed me completely whole.
Yeah.
I'm physically burnt out. I am mentally burnt out. I am emotionally burnt out.
Yeah.
I am exhausted.
Yeah. Do you see an end in sight for that? Or are you kind of starting to plot a way to No.
So here's what I am doing though. So burnout, just like we talked about, like it's the constant, right? When you're constantly under that stress of mental, emotional, physical exhaustion. Sometimes you can be mentally exhausted, but not physically exhausted, or physically exhausted, not mentally. Man, I got it on all cylinders. So at the end of the day, there's been days I just literally go lay on the floor and put my face down and like I have the energy the vortex has sucked the oxygen out of every fiber of my being.
So I know you mentioned all of the repercussions of it, but what's the primary driver of that?
So I'm allowing it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The conditions in which I'm operating and working, like my work environment, the conditions are exhausting. That doesn't mean I need to hop on the train that's going 200 miles per hour. That's very confusing and complex and all the things. And just as I said that, my eye's twitching even.
Oh my gosh.
I've literally had an eye twitch for in this whole season of burnout. My eye twitches all the time.
Well, our bodies don't lie to us.
I know. It's telling me like you are burnt out.
Right. If your body is making you lay down on the floor face down, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just saying, like,
that's how you know.
Yeah. Our bodies do not lie to us. And if That's what's happening. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sorry to hear that. Yeah. It's,
Okay. Don't be
yeah.
sorry. It's
No,
gonna
I know,
happen.
but like that's not fun. And at least you have the self-awareness. Like you took it a step deeper. A lot of people are like, wow, my work is tearing me apart, or my family wants too much, or whatever it is. That's like, ultimately, yeah, that's a thing. But underneath it all, what you said is you're allowing that. Like, I
I have
think
a
a lot of
choice.
people, yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people think they don't have a choice. They're subject to burnout because some other force is making it happen in their lives. And, you know, I think we forget we have a choice.
I was talking, so I had a session with my coach. I have a coach. Coach always needs a coach, right? So
Oh,
and
yeah.
getting better. And so I was talking with my coach yesterday, and she was like, "You're leading your life right now from your saboteur. Your saboteur has hijacked." And I was like, "Oh,
Hmm.
yes, Slimer
Yeah.
wants to keep me in fear and keep me below the line and keep me in burnout.
Yeah.
He has wiggled his little way into my entire body. He has hijacked my mind, my body, my soul, my spirit, my energy,
Hmm.
and is driving me in the ground."
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's counterproductive, right? I mean, you think you're doing all of the things you can to kind of control the situation, but you're being controlled by the situation, which means, you
The
know,
situation has controlled me.
yeah.
And that's why I say I've gotten swallowed up. Like I've literally gotten swallowed up and
Yeah.
allowed it to happen.
Well, I think it's extraordinarily relatable, though. I mean, like I said, I'm a 3 right now, but I have mostly in my multiple decade career been 7, 8. And then what happens to me is that I finally feel like I've pressure cooked myself so much that I explode. Either I'm like, it's no Jerry Maguire taking the fish and leaving moment, but it is probably not too far off where I
No,
don't
I
like
was
vaporize or get a new job. It's just gonna like start over somewhere else. And then as it turns out, everywhere I go when I start a new job, I'm taking me with me. And so, I have good intentions, but there I am getting burnt out again. I'm like, huh, I am the
oh,
common denominator here. Huh.
even though the circumstances and
Yeah,
the things are all different.
totally. Yep.
So I guess the thing is here is burnout. Our environment can cause
Yeah.
burnout,
Right.
but to get to burnout, it's an allowing almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't feel so good. Like I've
Well,
allowed myself to get burned out. I've allowed myself to eat the queso dip and chips at 3
yeah.
o'clock every day. That has
Right.
not played well on my hips and my belly.
Right. And it
I,
becomes a vicious cycle, right? Because then you're like, I'm so sick and tired of my, feeling this way in my body.
and
And
then I just then because I'm so tired,
right.
yes, I'm so tired. My son today, I was taking him to school, and I said, "Ah, who's so handsome and who's so cute?" And he's like, "Me, Joseph." And he's like, "Mommy, you know what you are? You got a big belly."
Oh
I
no.
go, "Oh, yay,
Yeah.
thanks. You're still so cute. Mama's got a big belly."
Oh my gosh. Why are kids like this? Why are kids like this? It happens all the time around here. Don't worry,
Oh
little truth
man.
bombers, tiny,
Well,
cute
and
little truth bombers.
so like some of the stuff I know we were looking at, like what are some symptoms of burnout, right? Like
Yeah.
how do you know you're getting a burnout?
Yeah.
And the typical exhaustion, which I talked about, sense
Yeah.
of failure, self-doubt, feeling helplessness, trapped, defeated. I feel constricted. When I get burnt out, I'm like in a box and I'm like constricted, and it's
Yeah.
again like I have no control.
Hmm.
Um, but what was interesting to me though was some less common signs of burnout. And then I goes like, oh, check, 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 check. Holy
Yeah.
cow. Lots of pessimism.
Yeah.
So kind of that just victim mentality. Horrible.
Hmm.
I've been sleeping horrible. So trouble sleeping, stomach aches or headaches. My gut is in knots most days.
Yeah.
Lowered immunity, weight gain. I've gained since I've stepped in this role. Unfortunately, I've gained like 12 pounds. Isolation, muscle pain. I do have that for sure. Numbing with food, drugs, alcohol to cope.
Okay, girl. What are we gonna do about this?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
So
this
how do
isn't
you
a
get
podcast.
yourself?
This is an
is a
intervention.
This is a coaching session for anyone else that might be feeling a sense of burnout, just running.
Yeah.
If you're having any of those symptoms of burnout.
Well, I am worried about you. I'm having an intervention with you right now. We're gonna stop this.
So
We've got to stop it.
last week I decided to stop the cycle, right? So
Okay.
last week I'm like, all right, this is enough. So I think like how do you start when you're recognizing that you're burned out and you know you're burnt out?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you give yourself that pause?
Right.
What's happening here?
Well, the first sign for me is usually my physical body. Like something in my body is like, I am in physical pain or I'm not sleeping or whatever. My body, I tend to ignore the mental signs of burnout first. I'm like, no. I got this. I got this. I got this.
Yeah.
And
Persist.
yeah, but then my body's like, I'm going to stop you, whether you like it or not. And so I think for me, like one of the first things that I try to do to counter that is something with my body. Like I will either go take a rest day. Nature walk is really helpful for me. Going to a exercise class, going to yoga, that kind of stuff, like battle my body with my body. And so
Yeah.
that is a tool that I use. But ultimately, when I'm faced with burnout, it's like something's got to give, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm maybe trying to do too much or putting too much effort into one spot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, totally. And all there's so many things that can help with the burnout, but the
yeah,
physical works for me as well. Just a pause. I was
yeah.
doing a couple coaching sessions just in the last couple days with clients, and just taking a minute to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Like had them do, and one of my clients is like, oh my gosh, I needed that so much.
Yeah,
Like the pause, just a minute to
right.
pause. She and again, just a client earlier today, same thing. Like it looks like you need a breath.
Yeah. I had a coaching experience this week when one of my clients, she was just, you could tell she was just kind of in her own head about stuff and burnout. And I'm like, have you ever taken a moment to just kind of like get on the balcony and observe yourself and separate who you are and
Yeah.
your true essence from those thoughts that are happening in your mind, those ruminating thoughts that are causing you to feel just like squeezed. And
Yeah.
she was like, I've never done that. I've never thought to do that, which is not surprising because it feels like a kind of weird thing to do. Like, no, I am my thoughts, but we're not.
Or not.
Our
Right.
thoughts run away. Our mind has a mind of its own.
And I love that, like visually, like if you take yourself and imagine that you're up here, right?
Yeah.
And you're looking down, what are you seeing?
Yeah. It's easier to identify that you're burnt out and something needs to change when you can start to kind of detach a little bit from those things, which is hard when you're in the moment. Usually when you're burnt out, it's because you're spinning on a wheel.
I'm with you. I'm persistent. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. I haven't figured this out yet. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And then this week I thought, I'm not going to keep going. So last week I decided to, okay, this has to stop. So what is going to give? What's my physical? Like even as I'm talking, my eyes still twitching. What's my fit? Like what do I need to do physically?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do mentally? What do I need to do emotionally?
Yeah.
And start at it. I love that you're saying like start at one place. You don't need to do all if you try to do too much too fast, that's not going to help either. You'll just have more burnout. But like where do you want to go in to start attacking or start working on the burnout?
Yeah. So do you have a game plan?
So I'm slowly getting very back anchored to my why. I'm feeling disconnected and not like fully aligned with my mind, my body, my spirit, and my values and purpose.
Yeah.
So I had to really continue to get very centered to my why, my values,
Yeah.
my leader within, who's
Yeah.
soulful maverick, right? Like soulful maverick. I feel a little disconnected from her.
Yeah.
And then my leading, and the big aha that I was sharing earlier is that I'm leading from my saboteur, and I'm not leading from my authentic self.
Yeah.
And I'm just on the hamster wheel spinning around and around and around. So
Yeah. And that doesn't feel good either, because it's not like, I mean, you're doing a lot of work, but it may not be your best, right? Because you can.
No, it's not best work at all.
Right.
And then it's working 10 and 12-hour days and at the end going, what have I done today? What impact have I had? What value have I added?
Right.
Am I just on the wheel sprinting?
Absolutely.
With no recovery.
Yeah, for me, it's typically I have to say no. I have to start saying no to things, maybe even things I've committed to. And I hate disappointing people, but man almighty, like a lot of times I accumulate too many things to do. And that is the source of a lot of my burnout, is just all of those yeses, well intentioned, but very unrealistic.
Couple things. I have stepped down from a couple leadership roles, and I stepped down from a board position that I was on.
Good for you.
And saying no so I can protect my yes. What am I saying yes to?
Right.
And putting my self-care back in the priority bucket. Like there's certain things that work well, and then I just stopped doing them because they work so dang well. Right. So like I used to like lay out all my food and know like my meals for the day. So then when I get into the meeting and back-to-back meeting the days, I don't need to, I got my healthy choices already planned, and I just stopped doing it. Right. Like I just stopped doing it. So this week I'm like, I'm going to try that again, because again, I cannot gain another 12 pounds. Like I just got to go back in the other direction. So I have the energy and I can show up in the way that I want to show up. So I started laying out my food again.
Good
it
for
just
you.
becomes automatic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a good tip. I was also drinking 10 to 20 ounces of water with each meal. So I was getting at least 100 ounces of water a day.
That's a lot.
Such a good habit that I just stopped doing it. So I'm incorporating that.
Right.
Yeah. The sleep thing is, I love my sleep. And so really making sure I am in bed by 10, not distracted. Those types of things.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like this week I'm starting to slowly crawl out of burnout. But it definitely started with the recognition it's happening, then me going, stop. To your point, come up out of the balcony. I kind of like out of the balcony, where's this coming from? And then I have a lot of options, because it's again, I'm physically, emotionally, and mentally exhausted. Where's going to be one small step that I can do to start getting momentum back in the right direction? Slow down.
Right. I know. I think it's
slow down.
I'm going to keep that as a recording to remind myself. Slow. I like that. That made me want to slow down. So what are some other things? I love that you talk about connecting with your values and purpose as that anchor of, why am I doing what I'm doing anyway? In the first place, why am I doing this? Right?
What's the impact I want to have?
Yeah. And I like thinking about too, our saboteur types. We've talking about how, like for mine being a hyperachiever type, it's obvious that I hit burnout because I'm so consumed with achieving and achieving and achieving and achieving. And there will never be enough achievements in the world to satiate that, that hunger. So at some point, this is the pattern that I've had my entire career. I'm sure I've like racked up plenty of accolades, but I can't even really think of anything off the top of my head. But I do remember getting burnt out a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And what do you do? What do you do when how do you pull yourself? How do you recognize it? And how do you pull yourself out of burnout?
Yeah. So physically first, typically it's
Like you were
my
saying.
physical health. Yeah. My physical health starts to suffer, but I also realize that I get really bitter. I've become
Mm,
really, really bitter and resentful. And I, uh, I look outside of myself for the sources of, my trigger and my pain, but ultimately, uh, only when I can admit that I am the one who is agreeing to do either too much or things that don't align with what I want to do. Um, I'm not stuck anymore, and I'm not a victim anymore, and I can actually make a change. But it takes me a while sometimes. Like I can be a really good victim sometimes, I guess. You
yeah.
know, yeah,
Man, and it's hard. And this is hard. This is a hard pill to swallow. And it's probably hard for our listeners is unfortunately we're the problem.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
us. But here's the blessing. We are also the solution.
absolutely,
So the sooner you can acknowledge you're in burnout and then turn inward to your
yeah,
point. Stop looking outward. We need to stop looking outward and look inward and say, what's happening here?
yeah,
Why, what am I allowing to happen?
yeah. I'll tell you what burns me out sometimes too is that, when you have children, you get off work and then you go back to work with your family a lot of times. And so if I,
I'm like
right,
laughing, like I'm laughing because yes, it's
I mean,
the
you get up
jobs,
and
all
you
the
work,
roles, and you work and you work and you work and you go from one role to another role to
right?
another role to another role.
Yeah, I
Ah,
know. And it feels a little nonstop, but it doesn't have to feel that way. I mean, there's seasons of life where, yeah, you're of service to other people and you chose to, have the children or whatever it is you're of service to. Um, and being bitter about it is not helping anything, even though I gripe sometimes, I'm exhausted.
yeah,
It's always like when you just sit down finally after a long day that somebody needs something that you
the
have to,
moment they know.
you
Yeah,
know,
they're like, oh, mom's what?
yeah.
Oh, mom's gonna relax.
It's
No,
just
she's not.
where they're like
No,
little,
she's not.
their senses go off and they're like, ooh, I need something off a top shelf somewhere.
You know what? And I think it's really healthy that they see that how we recover and
Yeah.
acknowledge
Hmm.
burnout and how we can pull ourselves out of it
Yeah.
because they're watching, they're observing. I got to tell you a beautiful moment. I've been talking with my kids I'm in they're seeing me work more hours. They're
Yeah.
seeing me be completely exhausted. And instead of complaining about it, I'm just saying, hey, I just want to recognize, like, by me giving myself grace, I'm
Mm,
able to share
yeah.
and I'm almost having to redesign with them too. Like, what do you need from me to feel loved and supported even
Hmm.
while I'm burnt out? Like, how can I
Right.
but I had this moment a couple nights ago. My daughter, who's in seventh grade, so she's 13, she's in her room reading, listening to music. I literally walked in her room. Her room tends to be calm, and
Hmm.
said, Dorothy, do you care if I literally lay here right now? I
Oh,
have nothing left to give. And can I just lay here on your floor? And you know what? She hopped up without hesitation, hopped up, grabbed her ear pods, gave them to me, and said, Mom, I think you might like this song. Yeah, go ahead. I
oh,
literally sat there for 10 minutes, like almost in a I just submitted. I'm like, just allow yourself just to meditate and just be here for
yeah.
10 minutes. And the songs were beautiful. The fact that she was like, just let me be. And like, there was
Yeah.
no judgment on my end or her end, no stress. 10 minutes. You know how, when you do meditation or mindfulness, like
Yeah.
sometimes that can be rejuvenating.
For sure.
It was
Yeah.
awesome. Like, I got up and I was like, felt this burst of energy because I just submitted
Yeah.
fully, full submission to like, just be here for 10 minutes. Don't think about anything. Just lean into the music and lay here. And it was that I was able to come up. My mindset shifted and I had the evening and I thanked her several times. I'm like, I don't know how you knew that's exactly what I needed. Thank you for that. That music was beautiful. And thank you for just letting me be here.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too.
It was just this moment.
Oh, I love that. I love that that you got her involved in it, and that, you didn't like explode on your kids because you were so burnt out.
There
Like
was
you,
no yelling. There was
right,
nothing. I just walked in, was like, this is what I need right now. Is it
right.
okay? Like I just asked for what I needed and said, is it okay? And she just responded with the most
Yeah.
beautiful response.
Yeah. I think it's helpful to give our kids the opportunity to serve us too. Like when I'm
Mhm.
talking about how, you go to work after you go to work, sometimes getting them involved or helping them take some of the pressure or having them take some of the pressure off of you is doing everyone a favor.
Yeah. Because they're learning how to help too and lean in and as well. And how do you support people when they, we support them when they need it, but
Right.
how do you give support too?
Right. I think one of the keys then is about asking for help,
Yeah.
knowing that sometimes you have to wave the wave the white flag and say the ship's going to go down if somebody doesn't come in here and help me.
Yeah. And we have to be the ones, again, it's turning inward
Right. Yeah.
and giving ourselves permission to ask for help.
Right. Yeah, because nobody else is going to do it for you. That's a for sure. You have to ask for it because especially if it's for work, like people will let you work as long as you will do so. They'll let you. I mean, your burnout is your own responsibility, right?
Yeah, it totally is. I can work 12 hours and keep grinding, or I could work 7 to 8 hours
Yeah.
of good productivity and show up and I'd probably get further faster working the 7 to 8 hours and working a little bit differently. So
Right. So what do you think?
I'm feeling hopeful
Yeah.
about burnout. I hope that our listeners are taking something away about when you find yourselves in seasons or moments of burnout,
Yeah.
to acknowledge it, stop, rise above, try and separate yourself from it, look
Hmm.
at it from a different perspective,
Hmm.
and then just choose something, right? Is it a physical? Is it a mental fitness thing you need to do?
Right.
Emotional? Something just small to slowly start pulling yourself out of the burnout.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of What in the Well. Be sure to review, rate, and subscribe to our podcast. And if you have a topic you'd like us to cover, share it in the comments. Stay well until we meet again.